Welcome to Quick Country Histories. Today, we're unpacking the incredible story of Algeria. This is a nation shaped by its location at the crossroads of Africa, Europe, and the Middle East, with a history that's just this powerful epic of empires, resistance, and revolution.
So, to really get a handle on Algeria, we're going to walk through its major historical chapters. We'll start with its ancient Berber kingdoms, see the arrival of Islam, then its wild time as a pirate state, through the deep wounds of colonization, a brutal fight for freedom, and wrap up with the challenges it faces today.
All right, we've broken this amazing history down into 6 key parts, and you'll see how each one really set the stage for whatever came next. Okay, let's just dive right in. Our story kicks off in the Maghreb, that fertile coastal plain of North Africa. Now, people have been here for nearly 2 million years, but its history, the part we have written down, really gets going with the rise of some seriously powerful local kingdoms. Way before the Phoenicians, Romans, or Arabs ever showed up, this was the land of the Berbers. These are the indigenous peoples of the region, and with their own rich cultures and languages, they built several states and really laid the groundwork for Algerian identity, a fierce, independent spirit that you can still see today. So the first great state to pop up from this Berber foundation was Numidia. It became a major player in the Mediterranean, which, at the time, was basically dominated by this epic clash between the two big superpowers of the day, Carthage and Rome. And the key moment here really is unification. There was this king, Massinissa, who was an absolute master strategist. By siding with Rome against Carthage, he didn't just pick the winning team, he cleverly used that alliance to crush his Berber rivals. This allowed him to pull all of Numidia together under his rule and create this formidable kingdom that literally surrounded his old enemies in Carthage.
Okay, let's jump forward to the medieval period. The Arab conquest in the 8th century brought two of the most transformative things in Algerian history, the religion of Islam and the Arabic language. But this wasn't just a story of foreigners taking over. It actually sparked the rise of incredible, homegrown Berber empires.
Right, so after that initial conquest, power actually shifted back into local hands, with a series of really remarkable Berber dynasties. And these weren't just small-time kingdoms. They were huge, sophisticated empires, often inspired by Islamic reform. You had the Almoravids and then the Almohads, both starting as these reform movements and ending up building these vast empires that stretched all across North Africa and even into Spain. It was really the peak of Berber political power.
And this right here shows you just how powerful they got. The Almohads did something no one had ever done before. They united the entire Maghreb from what's now Libya all the way to Morocco, and they ruled over Muslim Spain. For a while there, they were without a doubt one of the most powerful empires anywhere in the Mediterranean.
But as the Almohad Empire started to crumble, new players jumped in to take control. And by the 16th century, the coastal city of Algiers was about to get a major upgrade, from just a port town into the capital of a feared and very wealthy maritime state, all with the backing of the Ottoman Empire.
This was the Regency of Algiers. It was founded by these legendary privateer brothers, Arouche and Hayreddin Barbarossa, and its whole economy was built on one single and super profitable industry: piracy. They called it privateering, but their corsairs, or sea raiders, basically attacked European merchant ships, and then they'd either ransom the crews or enslave them.
And make no mistake, this state was a huge deal. I mean, its corsairs were so disruptive that they ended up fighting wars with pretty much every major European naval power, and even the brand new United States. And here's the kicker. While it was technically part of the Ottoman Empire, by the 1700s, Algiers was basically running its own show, like a military republic completely funded by piracy.
But the Regency's power couldn't last forever. In 1830, France used a pretty flimsy excuse: a diplomatic spat over an old debt, to invade. This kicked off 132 years of colonial occupation that would leave deeper scars than anything that came before it, and it would reawaken that ancient Berber spirit of resistance.
For more than a century, Algeria was treated totally different from any other colony. Its northern parts were legally made a part of France itself, just like any region in the French mainland. But that was all on paper. In reality, the vast majority of the Algerian people were treated as subjects, not citizens. Now, what's so fascinating about this slide is the brutal reality of the colonial system it lays out. On one side, you had the European settlers, the Pied Noirs, who had all the political power and controlled almost all the wealth. And on the other, you had the Algerian Muslim population, who were systematically shut out, had their land taken, and were denied basic rights. It was a recipe for disaster. So after generations of living with this inequality, and after seeing every peaceful attempt at reform get ignored or violently crushed, Algerian nationalists came to a pretty grim conclusion. The only way they were going to get their freedom was to fight for it.
The war that started on November 1st, 1954, was one of the most savage conflicts of the 20th century. It was a guerrilla war fought in the mountains and a brutal campaign of terror fought in the cities. Both sides committed horrific atrocities, but for the Algerian people, it was this defining moment, a crucible that forged a powerful, unified national identity.
The price for that identity was just staggering. The human cost of the war was immense, with estimates of Algerian deaths somewhere between 350,000 and 1 million people. That loss seared the value of independence deep into the nation's soul, and it would shape the country for decades.
But independence, won at such a high price in 1962, didn't automatically bring peace. The winning party, the FLN, set up a one-party state, but deep down there were huge divisions about what kind of country Algeria should be, and those divisions would soon explode into a new, devastating conflict.
And the trigger was a failed attempt at democracy. In the early 90s, when it looked like an Islamist party was about to win a huge election victory, the military just stepped in. They canceled the whole thing and seized power. And that just shattered the democratic dream and plunged the country into the Black Decade, a horrific civil war between the government and Islamist groups.
The end of the war brought a period of calm under President Abdelaziz Bouteflika, who ended up ruling for 20 years. But under the surface, people were getting more and more frustrated. In 2019, when he announced he was going for a 5th term, it ignited the Hirak movement, these massive, peaceful, weekly protests demanding a total change to the political system. And it worked. They forced him to resign.
And that brings us to today. The new republic that was born out of those protests faces enormous challenges. The same historical forces we've been talking about, that deep Berber identity, the powerful legacy of fighting colonialism, and that constant demand for real political freedom are still driving the nation's story. It just leaves you wondering, what's the next chapter going to be?
Hey, if you found this journey through Algerian history interesting, you should check out Another Nation Story in our Quick Country Histories playlist. And definitely subscribe to Notebook Summaries so you don't miss our next explainer. Thanks for watching.